Hello and welcome to Midday Live. It's coming to you from our news hub here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. My name is Efua Tieku. Top of the bulletin this afternoon. NDC presidential hopefuls race against time to pick forms to contest flag bearership race. National Labour Commission directs striking members of Colleges of Education Teachers Association to call off its strike. On the international front, head of the CIA, Gina Haspel, expected to brief Congress on Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi's murder. We have details of all these and more in the next 60 minutes. To stay with us now. Let's begin with some political news as presidential hopefuls wishing to contest for presidential primaries of the NDC have up to 5 p.m. today to pick their forms or forfeit their dream. The party set aside yesterday, Monday, December 3 and today, December 4 as days for presidential hopefuls to pick their forms. Earlier, some aspirants vowed not to pick the forms following contention over the 400,000 filing fees, which they say is too expensive. In a sharp U-turn, however, some of the aspirants, including Professor Joshua Alabi and Ecos Piogabra, have already indicated they will go ahead to pick the forms whilst they continue pushing for reduction in the cost of the filing fees. Meanwhile, a flag-bearer aspirant of the NDC says that national executives of the party should have consulted the Council of Elders before fixing the filing fees for the presidential primaries. Now, according to Ecos Piogabra, the decision by the national executives is an illegality because it contravenes Article 40 and 42 of the party's constitution.
The party's National Executive Council fixed the filing fees for presidential aspirants at 400,000 cedis, while forms could be picked for 20,000 cedis. Female candidates and aspirants with physical disabilities will, however, pay 50% less of the filing fee. A group of 8 members of the party have petitioned the Council of Elders, raising some concerns.
We put it in the petition. We said 100,000 cedis was the last time an NDC president was asked to pay anything as filing fee. Why move away from that figure unless you can justify some significant inflationary trends that change it? The chairman of the party and those who contested for chairmanship, any of them could have chosen to be flag bearers. They are equally qualified to be flag bearer. So it's not as if being a national chairman is so low below a flag bearer that you pay 10,000. But then the flag bearer pays 400,000.
This Ecos Piogabra, who is a member of the group, disagrees with the assertion that the party needs money to run its presidential primaries.
That logic of the party needing money breaks down because there has been no evidence since January this year when we've been filing fees for branch executives, for constituency executives, for regional executives, that we are doing it on the basis of the party needs money. They did it on the basis of what seemed reasonable. So 500 cedis has been the highest price for picking up a nomination form, which is a piece of paper. How much does the piece of paper cost for you to be charging 20,000 cedis just to pick up a nomination form? So that is the problem with filing fees. It's not based on any good governance practice.
The former minister under Mohammed's administration said the group will wait for the Council of Elders to determine the next line of action.
Let this document go to the Council of Elders. If the Council of Elders come back and say, we agree with every single thing here, then we have no choice but to comply. But as long as the Council of Elders have not been consulted, and as long as they have not pronounced on this, then there's an illegality here in the procedure which we are asking to be cured.
12 persons have declared their intention to contest picking of nomination forms closes today, December 4.
Dr. Edward Brenya is a senior lecturer at the Department of History and Political Studies at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He joins us via Skype for a discussion on this issue. Dr. Brenya, thank you for joining us. So some of the aspirants have said that the filing fee is too expensive. Meanwhile, some of them have said that they'll go ahead and pick the forms. Is this a betrayal to the others who are now calling for the review of the nomination fees?
I believe strongly that the issue of contention is not about the 20,000, which is for taking the form. It is rather about the filing fee. And therefore, if some have decided that they will pay the 20,000 so that they can pick the form, which the deadline is today, and later wait until a decision is taken on the filing fee, I don't think it's a betrayal at all.
Now, some have also said that they could go ahead and raise funds from their supporting base. Do you think this, do you agree with this assertion?
That they will go ahead supporting. Will you repeat the statement, please? Hello?
Yes, I'm saying that some have said that the aspirants could go ahead and raise funds from their supporting base. Do you agree with that?
Well, for me, I think that the core issue is the whole idea about monetization of the process. We don't want a situation where people are compelled or in a way forced to pay that huge sum of money, and then if electorate gives them the chance to come back to power, that they find other means of raising the money. Remember, the former president has said that it's only those people who, in one way or the other, had stolen money that can pay that money. The money is huge, and I believe that it is a step in the right direction that these aspirants are asking for a review of the money. I think that until the next take a decision, it still stands that that money is huge, and it will be in the interest of the NDC to review the money.
Some of them also mentioned that they should have consulted the Council of Elders before going ahead to put up the nomination fees. You think that they erred in that respect by not consulting the Council of Elders?
I've not actually looked at what the constitution of the NDC stipulates with that regard. If the constitution requires that in setting a fee of that sort, that the Council of Elders is consulted and they were not consulted, then we could have said that they've erred, they've illegally put out this fee. But if it doesn't provide for, then I don't think that it would have been anything that we could say that they've done that is illegal. If after it has been done, the aspirants are petitioning and the Council of Elders come in, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Brenya, who is a political scientist. Now, we've been joined on the phone lines by George Boateng, who is an NDC flag bearer aspirant. George, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Can you hear me? Right, we've just lost George Boateng on the line. We are trying to get him back on the line to speak with us. All right, so presidential hopefuls wishing to contest for presidential primaries of the NDC have up to 5 p.m. today to pick their forms or forfeit that dream. Now, the party set aside yesterday, Monday, December 3, and today, December 4, as days for presidential hopefuls to pick their forms. Now, earlier, some aspirants vowed not to pick the forms following contention over the 400,000 filing fees, which they say is too expensive. In a sharp U-turn, however, some of the aspirants, including Professor Joshua Alabi and Ecol Spiogabra, have already indicated they'll go ahead to pick the forms whilst they continue pushing for a reduction in the cost of the filing fee. So we are still monitoring the process of the picking up of the forms, and my colleague Collins Esuman is at the NDC headquarters and joins me now via phone. Collins, today is the final day and we expect a number of candidates to pick up their forms. Can you tell us who are expected to come today?
All right, so it all started yesterday. President John Mahama has already picked. Many were expecting the other candidates who are contesting former President Mahama to also pick. As I speak with you, it's only Professor Joshua Alabi who has been able to pick his nomination. He couldn't come here personally, but a delegation led by former MP for Ayawaso West Wogon, Ken Chirasa, came and picked up the nomination form on his behalf. 20,000 Ghana city checks was sent to the General Secretary of the party, who received them and also gave them the forms to go out and fill. Wish them the very best of luck. So as I speak with you, what we know is that Professor Joshua Alabi and former President John Mahama have all picked up their nomination forms. What we are taking from the ground and from our sources indicates that the other aspirants who sign on to a petition to be addressed to the Council of Elders of the party on the filing and nomination form fee will not pick up their nomination today.
Now, can you give us a sense of the atmosphere there? Is it, do you have a lot of supporters there?
Well, of course. I mean, the usual supporters who would come and cheer up their candidates and all that were here. A number of them followed the delegation. They were here. They were very happy that their candidates have been able to go through the first hurdle that needed to be done. So many of them were here. They left a while ago. We are still here monitoring events. But, of course, like I mentioned earlier, it's very unlikely from the reports we have taken that other candidates may come here to pick up their form. What we also learning from the party, and I spoke with the General Secretary of the party, Mr. Johnson, he's also indicating that as we speak, the party, the National Executive Committee of the party, has not received any petition from anybody. And so his point is that the petition was sent, and I'm talking about the petition that was signed by the 8th flag bearer aspirant. It was sent to the Council of Elders. And so the party is not considering any extension of this process as far as they are concerned.
So, Colette, are you saying that the council is not, because we do understand that the party's Council of Elders will be meeting with the NEC today. Are you saying that that meeting will not come off?
Well, what I'm learning is that it's the Functional Executive Committee that is supposed to meet today, not the Council of Elders. And so the General Secretary seems to be unaware of that particular meeting. But his point was very clear, that until the Council of Elders meet and decide on the next line of action, and of course inform his secretariat or NEC about it, every directive they've given on this very exercise still holds.
But is it the case that this particular meeting by NEC will be looking at the issue of the review of the nomination fees?
NEC is not going to meet. This is Functional Executive Committee. And the Functional Executive Committee is going to meet on other matters that are of interest to the party, not necessarily on this nomination and filing fee impasse.
Thank you very much, Collins Suman, who is at the NDC headquarters. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. And do remember, we are live on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TV3 Ghana. Now, government has been charged to establish a comprehensive research university in the country. Now, a lecturer at the University of Michigan, United States, Professor Maxwell Owusu, made that call.
The lecture was organized by the Center for Advanced Studies of Africa Society in collaboration with the Department of Political Science of the University of Ghana. It was to appreciate the timeless contribution made by Kobna and his dedicated generation of the Gold Coast nationalist intelligentsia made to African nationalism in general. Lecturer at the University of Michigan in the United States, Professor Maxwell Owusu, expressed worry about the absence of a research institution in the country.
Ghana doesn't have a research university. This is a shame, because before Ghana got independence, there was a lot of talk, not only in Britain, in different parts of the world, as Ghana was the only colonial country outside Malaysia.
He challenged students to be academically inclined and follow the footsteps of the late Kobna, a lawyer, a politician, and a writer who contributed immensely to Ghana's development. The lecture was on the theme Culture, Nationalism, and Nation Building, the role of the Ghanaian intelligentsia.
Now, the National Labour Commission, NLC, has directed striking members of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association, CTAG, to call off its strike, restore full services, and return to the negotiating table. Now, the ruling follows the compulsory arbitration between the Colleges of Education Teachers Association, CTAG, and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. CTAG was asked again at the meeting on Thursday, November 29, to enter a compulsory arbitration with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, which came off on Monday, December 3, and a report sent to the National Labour Commission. Colleges of Education Teachers Association, CTAG, and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission have also been directed to return to the negotiating table within 5 working days. A tentative Monday, December 10, has been proposed. The negotiation is expected to conclude on the intermarket premium and the books and research allowance. So I've been joined in the studio by Benjamin Arthur, who is a labor consultant. Benjamin, thank you for your time. So the NLC wants CTAG to go back to the negotiating table. Do you think this is a fair ruling?
I will not call it a ruling. Normally when the National Labour Commission believes that you have not exhausted the various avenues for resolving the dispute, then they order you to go back and follow your own roadmap. Oftentimes, some of these roadmaps are contained in their own collective bargaining agreement. So what basically National Labour Commission has asked them to go and do is to go back to the negotiating table. But what I was expecting the National Labour Commission's orders to include possibly was to include the avenue for mediation, because these two parties have actually failed to negotiate. What it means is that a third party ought to set in to help them. Because if they are disagreeing to even meet, in your absence as National Labour Commission, what it means is that the impasse will linger on. So eventually you will require a kind of a third party intervention.
But would you say that the process has been fair to CTAG? Because in all fairness, they have been talking about the issues, I mean, the issues of the book allowance and the other conditions of service for quite a while, and they've been sounding the alarm for quite a while. So would you say that this whole process has been unfair to them?
No, it is fair, because National Labour Commission has followed procedure as enshrined in the Labour Act 651 of 2003. So National Labour Commission has not been fair or unfair to any of the parties. They have basically been asked to go back and handle their own dispute. But what I'm saying is that I am unsure, because every dispute has an escalation level. So if you look at the escalation level, you realize that at this moment they are not able, I'm not too sure they will be able to meet face to face, and talk about the matter. So a third party intervention will be very necessary. I was also expecting...
talking about escalation, we do understand that CTAG has its November salaries frozen. Wouldn't this also escalate the whole feud?
I mentioned here much earlier, I think about a week or so ago, others were not too happy with me, but that's the painful truth. And the truth is that if an employer believes that you have embarked on an illegal strike, and it is confirmed that the strike is illegal, you suffer the damages incurred by the employer. The employer has the option to terminate appointment, even sometimes without notice. The employer also has the option of recovering all the losses or damages, including any persons who might be injured. And not only that, your salaries or benefits could be frozen or it could be forfeited. But what I think it should be very fair, even if anybody can pronounce that strike as illegal, they have been on strike for quite some time. But you realize that they have also not withdrawn all the services that is required of them to offer. So if you are taking away their pay, then you have to pro-rata it according to the services that they have rendered. Assuming that I'm a house master in a secondary school, I'm also required to teach. I am on strike. I'm not teaching, but I'm supervising the kids. So what it means is that I'm doing that job. So when you're withholding my salary or you're letting me forfeit it, you have to calculate it and apportion the one that I have done to me and the one that I have not done. But going back to the critical issues, we will need a third party intervention in this matter. And if National Labour Commission is listening, or anybody listening, they ought to have triggered voluntary arbitration. They ought to ask the parties to go back, get an arbitrator, or National Labour Commission will make available its list of arbitrators for them to choose from. If at the end of the arbitration it is unsuccessful, Then the compulsory arbitration comes in. Everybody feels that, we have had enough and that the ruling of National Labour Commission is well situated. Other than that, the next time we will know, CITAC will go to court and set aside every other process the National Labour Commission has begun.
Thank you very much, Benjamin Arthur, who is a labour consultant. For your time. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. Let's now take a quick break. When we return, we have business. You're welcome back. The Tema Oil Refinery has described as untrue a publication by the Institute of Energy Studies, IES, that the refinery is incurring losses to the tune of over $24 million. Management of TOR in a statement indicated the projections by the IES, which concluded that the refinery was making losses due to drastic reduction in the prices of crude oil on the international market, does not hold.
According to the Tema Refinery, the Institute of Energy Security calculations are based on flawed assumptions that there is a direct correlation between the drop in global prices and the price of Tema Refinery products on the local market. The statement further pointed out that IES's claim that the Tema Refinery did not employ suitable techniques in managing the risk of a fall in prices are untrue. It explained that whereas the volatile nature of crude oil prices lies beyond the control of the Tema Refinery, any potential price risk arising from such volatility is however mitigated in a special arrangement with its suppliers. The statement continued that contrary to the claims by IES, the interests of local off-takers in Tema Refinery products are paramount. It maintained that Tema Refinery has sold some of the already refined products to both local and foreign entities, with additional pipeline efforts for the export of Tema Refinery products remaining unchanged. This TOR said debunks the notion by IES that there is stranded product sitting in TOR tanks. IES alleged that the Tema Refinery was to lose about $24 million in revenue due to drop in global prices of refined products.
And now to the western region, where the construction of an international airport at Takoradi will commence next year. The Deputy Minister of Aviation, Kwabena Ochre Dakumensa, who made this known, said land had been acquired and the necessary process is ongoing for the commencement of the project.
The Takoradi International Airport will further open up the western enclave of the country to both local and international trade and commerce. With the development of oil and gas fields and other mining activities in the western region, the international airport will help facilitate the ease in doing business and save cost, while the country will benefit in employment generation and revenue.
We have a terminal building, we'll have a cargo center, and then we'll have a longer runway, and then other ancillary facilities that should go with an international airport.
Deputy Minister of Aviation Kwabena Ochre Dakumensa hinted the project will be a public-private partnership.
We are looking at next year, 2019. And we have over 38 people who have expressed interest to partner the ministry to get the Takoradi International Airport done.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Aviation Minister indicated government is to finalize agreement for the home-based carrier to start operation.
We've seen about 4 or 5 of them. We have Ethiopia, Mauritius, Court Aviation, Abu Dhabi also expressed interest. We have other business people who have also, a lot of them on my desk that we're looking through. So we are poised to finalize the agreements this year and so that we can start flying.
The establishment of a home-based carrier will be with active Ghanaian participation. The carrier would allow government to tap into Ghana's booming international traffic demand, which is currently controlled almost entirely by foreign operators.
Now, a team of Ghanaian engineers at Belmont 7, a company in Takoradi, has fabricated its first suction pipe for the Jubilee field. The Jubilee partners have had to spend millions of dollars to import suction pipes for their exploration and drilling operations.
Suction pile is a long steel cylinder that anchors flow lines onto the seabed to help oil and gas exploration and drilling. Since Ghana commenced exploration and production of hydrocarbons in commercial quantities on the Jubilee fields some 10 years ago, the Jubilee partners have had to import fabricated suction piles for the operations. The fabrication and ferrying of the suction piles to the Jubilee field had come at a great cost to the partners. But a team of Ghanaian engineers at Belmont 7, a fabrication company at the Takoradi port, has fabricated the first suction pipe. It took the company 2 months to fabricate the 15.5-meter suction pile, which happens to be the widest for the Jubilee field.
The significant thing is that these things were manufactured by Ghanaians at the port of Takoradi. Hitherto, such an equipment or such an the seabed equipment would have been manufactured either in Singapore or Aberdeen and would have to be imported into the country. So the manufacturing that is going on here has saved Ghana a lot of money. It has helped us to reduce costs in the exploration and production business in Ghana.
The port has provided space to several support service providers.
The oil industry has positively impacted the fortunes of the port of Takoradi, GPH as a whole, the secondary Takoradi metropolis as a whole, and Ghana as a whole.
The Takoradi port has over the past 10 years been the strategic port base for the oil and gas industry.
And that's all for business this afternoon. Now let's move on to some other news. The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, says it will not compromise on its demand for drivers to have their tax identification number TIN before their vehicles are registered. Now, Deputy Director for the DVLA in charge of registration and vehicle inspections, Idris Hussein, says the requirement will soon be extended to all other services at the DVLA. He spoke on 3FM's morning show, Sunrise. Midday live on TV3. Let's take a break now. We'll be back with sports. Thank you for joining us. Now, before we do sports, let's get back to the camp of the NDC, because one-time aspirant George Boateng, who was filed to contest the flag bearer aspirant for the NDC, is back to contest again, and he joins us on the line. Mr. Boateng, thank you for your time this afternoon. Mr. Boateng, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me, Mr. Boateng?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, thank you for your time this afternoon. So you want to lead the NDC, and meanwhile, the General Secretary is saying that the amount being charged will help to finance the election process. Do you agree with him?
No, I do not.
Why is that so?
Yes, because the reason was we are a socialist party. And socialist party, we have our mandate. Our mandate is that we are not capitalism party. As a socialist party, we have a lot of branches and positions. So if it has happened that you are the leader, you have led the party for past 8 years, and we have a lot of contracts that we have awarded to a big contract. 1, Ghana Gas. 2, Airport Terminal 3. 3, this circle interview like this. All these contractors pay money to our party process. So where is the money? You could remember that the ex-president, Mahama, was saying that he gave money resource to be given to the party constituency and the branch. And the money couldn't reach the party members. So where is the money? The question we are asking them that where is the money? They are thieves. We see them that they are thieves and they are corrupt. So we will not accept what they are bringing on board. Now,
so Mr. Boateng, you are saying that you will not accept that. Your point is well made. But in 2016, you were disqualified from contesting. Have you sorted your issues out now that you want to contest again?
Come again.
I'm saying that in 2016 you were disqualified from contesting. So have you sorted your issues now that you're coming back to contest?
Let me come back to you and let me correct you here. I was not disqualified on 2016. The same corrupt people that they are leading us, our party, the and the rest, they managed to destroy me so that I cannot continue with that corrupt president, ex-president, Mahama. And that's the reason why I stood up to make something against my own party and the president, because at that time, there was corruption going on in our party, in our government. So I need a house cleaning to clean our party, including our government. So that's the reason why I rise up against the government, then NDC government, which was leading by then President Mahama. So that was the reason why I rise up against President Mahama, and I campaign strongly against him because he's corrupt president. And could you remember the Asofoto, Jida, Branding, Jipa, and etc.
Now, Mr. Boateng, finally, today is the last day for the picking up of the forms. Are you going to pick up the forms and file today?
Yes, I'm going to pick my form exactly by 2 o'clock. As I was speaking to you, I'm on my way going.
Right, thank you very much, George Boateng, who is an aspirant, a flag bearer aspirant for the NDC. It's time now for entertainment.
Entertainment news is brought to you by
Vodafone. The future is exciting. Ready?
Roma insecticide spray and mosquito coil. Midday.
American Academy Award winner Louis Gossett is in Ghana as guest at the Diaspora African Forum. The visit is part of the Year of Return for all African descendants to mark 400 years of the transatlantic slave trade.
It was a dream come true for the members of the Diaspora African Forum in Ghana as American Academy Award winner Louis Cameron Gossett visited the land. The actor's visit is to encourage other African Americans to honor the call of Year of Return for all African descendants to mark 400 years of the transatlantic slave trade. The legend urged stakeholders in the Diaspora African Forum to use the Year of Return initiative as a tool to promote global peace.
In Kenya and in Tanzania, the warriors who used to fight one another walked down the street holding hands to declare a peace amongst one another. So you people standing here represent global peace. It's not just your growth anymore. You have the power to create peace and sustenance on this planet.
The actor was welcomed by the Minister of Tourism, Catherine Afeku, and some veteran Ghanaian actors and actresses. Some renowned actors were positive the program will help boost Ghana's movie industry.
The return is actually something that is spiritual as well as physical, because when they do come, it will open so many doors, not only for them but also for us, and to also enable us to do a lot of collaboration with them. Few collaborations that we've done that they've been part of, they realize that, in fact, they could even work a lot better with us than with colleagues out there in the US. And so, for me, I think it's one big move that will really help the entertainment industry.
It is indeed, an exciting moment for us to have these experts or more experienced, personalities come into the shores of Ghana and therefore begin some kind of dialogue that would sustain the industry in another direction, if you will. So yeah, it's a good step.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture is working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration to ensure the smooth passage of all Africans in the diaspora back to Africa.
It was an exhibition of the typical African womanhood and knowing the history behind the historical dishes for the 4 finalists of Ghana's Most Beautiful pageant. Now, the contestants treated the audience to some local delicacies from their respective regions in anticipation of the Crown.
The countdown to the grand finale of Ghana's Most Beautiful, and the hopes of the contestants and their supporters appear comparatively higher. The Ashanti regional representative, Afra, treated the audience to some eto and mango smoothies. Ohima from the Brongahafo region, some snail kebab and mushroom soup. Wikia showcased Tubani and Kaponu, and Abena, Ofam and Palavaso. The guest judge, Kwame Jokoto of Eziban fame, and regular judges did the tasting and marking. The Queen of the Kitchen Award went to Abena, the Eastern Regional representative, while Ohima was adjudged the star performer for the night.
Congratulations, Ohima.
It is obvious each of the contestants and their supporters are yearning for the prestigious crown, cash and car.
If you've been able to follow the competition from week 1 till now, clearly there's no argument that Ohima deserves the crown this year.
I think Afra will win it.
Abena is winning because she's intelligent. She has everything to be a queen.
Ricky has won already.
Why you say?
She's the best among all the girls. She's hardworking, talented, and very beautiful too.
My hope and my wish that this time round, Bravo will get the opportunity to carry the crown. I believe we will get it.
I'm fine.
We'll be right back.
That reminds me it's lunchtime already. Now, that'll be it for Midday Live. But before we go, let's remind you of the top stories. NDC presidential hopefuls race against time to pick forms to contest flag bearership race. National Labour Commission directs striking members of Colleges of Education Teachers Association to call off its strike. And head of the CIA, Gina Haspel, expected to brief Congress on Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi's murder. For more on these and more, do go to 3news.com. My name is Efwa Tieku. Have a lovely afternoon.